We all watch films and TV. From thrilling action movies to romantic comedies, they are all a form of cinematography. Cinematography is the art and science of motion picture photography. It is what enables us to create films which immerse the audience. It is not just the director that is responsible for the amazing pictures we see on our screen. It is the cinematographer's job to make sure the lighting, camera positioning, and lenses are all perfect to create the best shot. The films we all know and love today have come a long way from what they used to be, and they keep getting better thanks to technological advances. In the early stages of film and cinema, there were no trained camera operators. Filmmakers took on board the challenge of doing everything themselves, including building the sets and directing the actors. Some very talented individuals who could manage all of these were George Méliès and George Albert Smith. The oldest shots from a single-lens camera were all created by Louis Le Prince in 1888. The oldest surviving film on record is the Roundhay Garden scene, which is just over 2 seconds long. It was shot on October 24, 1888 in Roundhay, Leeds. Early films were around 30 seconds to a minute long on average. These films consisted of static frames, wide shots, and depicted everyday events. Although these films seem very simple to us now, at the time it was innovative and amazing to watch. In 1906, the first full-length feature film was made. It was a silent film directed by Charles Tate and over 1 hour long. The film depicts the adventures of one of Australia's most notorious outlaws, Ned Kelly. The film was approximately 1,200 metres long, but only fragments of it survive today. The most recent discovery of the footage was unearthed in the UK in 2006. This was a 7-minute single-take sequence. At this time they did not have digital cameras, which meant all their footage was stored on film reels. Because of this, many of the shots filmed are very long single-take shots. These take a lot of planning so that they are able to execute everything perfectly within one shot. The story of the Kelly Gang was somewhat controversial, as it painted the local police in a negative light, and 6 years later, politicians responded by introducing a ban on the production of bushranger films in New South Wales. This ban was only lifted in the 1940s. From the invention of film to present day, there have been many incredible changes within the film industry, mainly in the equipment and technology used. Normally, films would use natural lighting outside or diffuse sunlight in glasshouse studios. As the years went on and films started to be made up of more than one shot, the worldwide cinema boom required more films to fill the Nickelodeons. Filming needed to take place over more hours of daylight, so they added artificial lighting to the diffused sunlight. This usually came from specially adapted street lighting arcs. From this point on, in 1912, the expressive use of film lighting was underway. Originally the term cinematography referred to motion picture films, but because of the amount technology has moved on from those times, we are now shooting with digital image, HD equipment, and have a lot more opportunities and room to move. The Lumiere brothers began their history of film with their invention of the cinematograph, with their goal being no more than to deceive our eyes. In 1916, one of the most important and revolutionary techniques arrived. This was Technicolor. This allowed filmmakers to record and capture their films in colour. To achieve this, they would record images in 2 colours, red and teal, but only used one lens. This proved to become a problem when it came to the projection theatres. Nevertheless, this 2-strip system improved the colour production of films. Furthermore, the development of the 3-colour camera caused colour films to experience an unstoppable growth from 1935 onward. As well as the revolutionary development of colour film, they also developed sound. In 1927, the black and white film The Jazz Singer was premiered, directed by Alan Crosland. Although this film had not benefited from the advances of Technicolor, this marked the end of silent movies. When Technicolor was first invented, it was very expensive to film and produce, but filming in Technicolor came with a lot of benefits. Costumes became more lavish, makeup more detailed, and sets were more realistic. Gone with the Wind, directed by Victor Fleming, is an example of a film that benefited from the use of Technicolor. It helped them achieve bigger and more impressive cinematography, making it the longest, most expensive and successful Hollywood film made up to that point in time. Over time, the technology and equipment used for film has developed and progressed, allowing for a lot more movement and experimenting. Nowadays, we are able to use things such as CGI and visual effects to add to movies and images, making them more engaging and interesting. However, before CGI came into the picture, film audiences were hit with a completely different style of filming. When the Blair Witch Project came out in 1999, it shattered people's expectations of horror films. The creators and directors Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez chose to use handheld cameras to make it seem like the people in the movie had created the film themselves. This broke through the fourth wall, and cinemas even had to put up motion sickness warnings. The making of this film turned standard filming techniques on their heads and disorientated viewers with a whole new experience. In an interview, the director and actors explain in detail about how the actors were only given brief instructions each day of filming. They were told a goal for their characters every day, and from then on they would pretty much improvise. They also explained how they cast the characters based on their own characteristics, rather than their ability to act. The way that they filmed this was very simplistic, yet it still achieved the effect the directors wanted it to. A great example of showing how film technology has developed over time is seen in the movie Avatar. The innovative use of CGI allows the viewers to completely immerse themselves in the make-believe world of Pandora. James Cameron's aims for this film was to change cinema. They worked on it for 15 years before it was released, and it was the most technologically significant film of the 21st century. As well as this, the works of Avatar also increased the use of 3D cinema, and was almost solely responsible for nearly every cinema in North America to convert from analog to digital production. Looking into the making of Avatar, we can see that it is filmed in a completely different fashion. Unlike the Blair Witch that only took a few days to film and plan, Avatar took 15 years of careful planning, filming and editing before it was released. You can tell by this clip how the film came to be what it is by using CGI. The actors were all fitted with motion sensors and wore tight-fitted suits so that the computers could track every movement they made. This would then grant their performance to be captured and then projected onto a digital character. CGI allows everything to be computer generated instead of going through hours of makeup and prosthetics. This just shows how much technology has moved on in 10 years for them to be able to create something like this. Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk pushes the boundaries of modern-day cinematography as the impressive use of sound and visuals to depict the fighting and devastation of World War II completely immersed the audience. He has achieved this by creating a film that is about something that really happened. This type of cinematography is effective as it makes the audience feel empathy towards the characters, consequently making them feel more engaged and involved in the movie. As we can see, cinematography is ever-changing and improving. This is mostly down to the technology advances, as they allow the filmmakers, directors and scriptwriters to expand their opportunities and stretch their imagination, thus ending up in them producing an art form that provides entertainment and escapism to the modern-day audience.